Welcome to our lovely future humans, to the 5D Collective here at IHP. We were chit-chatting in our other episode, which originally had this title, but then it became focused on emotionally intelligent minds and the intelligence of love and how being yourself. It's a thriving game, and it's actually the best game of life. So you don't lose anyone and you're not afraid of making mistakes. So you don't do what Terry Real calls irresponsible retreating. So when people are walled off, they will hide away. When people are the boundaryless, they instead can go in a couple of different ways. So child parts, you own them if you're being yourself. That's why it's the best advice that I could ever give to you. The ones who don't understand why, it's because they're not attachment trauma educated or they don't believe in it. The ones of us who are educated know why your child parts are why you're going to have love and relationships and why you're going to, as a mystic, be in our Christ consciousness collective. The love frequency is not just a random word, actually the oxytocin gene hormone, and when you're in consistent eustress and you know how to navigate that. So even when I get reactive because of something triggering me, the panic attacks, I can handle. Those of you who are regular know this. And then you continue to expand your window of welcome and you work with your temperament, your personality patterns, and your triggers. And in fact, in our other episode, I talked about venting. But FYI, for those of you who are regulars, I think you've figured this out because I try to make sure you understand words are not as meaningful to me. I use them, but I use the gist of it. I don't use them in a very specific linear way. And that's because I don't think I really ever did since I'm a feels first, okay? And so that's why I totally admit I'm feels first. All humans are. Some just don't want to admit it because they don't believe that their 3-year-old is talking through them. Mine is. That's why I'm going to be venting my 1 and 3-year-old about the nutritionist's diet. But it won't be an actual venting because there's a difference with venting. And the people who don't know the difference didn't stop venting while I did. And so that's why when I meet a lot of different people throughout my lifetime, I'm 45, sometimes they'll use the word hypocrite because they'll say you said this and then you said that. Others, they understand that we are finding a way to use different words to express a concept. And that's the tango partner people. And so that's always with people who are curious, open, accepting, and loving. So we're not trying to tell each other what specific words to use. We're enjoying interacting. Those are people who are their self authentically and own their child parts. And that's why they can recognize when they're expanding. So there's a bunch of things right now. We're in our new cycle. Last night I mentioned that, I think, or yesterday at some point, either with the late HP show or an episode. But the most damaging type of game players are the ones who don't know they are playing games. This is Patrick Tan. So they're dangerous to those who don't know how to be emotionally intelligent with their minds and then emotionally intelligent with their hearts. Okay, so when instead you do know how to be yourself, you're not in a game of players that could backstab you in a way of breaking your heart. Don't break my heart. My achy, breaky heart, the way as if you are a teenager. And even as a teenager, if you're self-led, that's why I'm telling you some more stories. The late HP show might follow, but it might not. This might be it. So the individuals who have any type of confusion with, if you don't like people and you feel that they're mean and awful, then you might want to go to Patrick Tan. If you're a person who knows how to be emotionally intelligent and mentally intelligent, then you're going to enjoy this because nobody's mean to the point of where you're going to ixnay them. And even when you look at the big world, those who are intellectually and emotionally intelligent, they know exactly what they're seeing. If they have any attachment science and neuroscience and neurobiology, they're going to know, like I know, what I told you in the other episode, pathologies. It's very clear to a clear-minded person, which is why we don't believe in any of the conspiracy stuff, because it's more like, I mean, obviously, I can't put my hand on fire, meaning I can't be 100% certain because I'm going to always make sense to myself. But after learning the repeatable data and seeing it with my lovely Pinocchio Island friends, all the ones who you've been hearing stories who are teenage versions of themselves, they're on Pinocchio's Island because, oh yeah, we're functioning alcoholics, basically, but accept it. And then they think that I don't know how to live an intense life. And then I think of said guru who does his best to share with you what an intense life is. I'm bringing the human elements, the spiritual and spirituality elements, the sciences. That's why I'm having fun with what will be that segue podcast on the nutritionist's diary, with science telling me here's a meal plan that you will want to follow because your body wants it. And with me knowing I'm healthy, and then all the other spirituality stuff, our energy body, all that good ascension, expansion. Okay, so it's a play that I said it's a good play because I get to do something that's good for my body. Then I get to show people why science and spirituality aren't against each other, but also there's not a one size fits all. And lo and behold, you get to hear Maria's child parts, not venting, but it would sound like venting to those who don't know me, complaining. And so there is a difference with the biochemistry, as your body is different when you are living the restorative embodiment. So you're self-aware, accountable, regulating. So you're not triggered in a way of you not knowing that your nervous system got all worked up. You'll know, and then you'll actually have a fun time as you recalibrate to get back into your parasympathetic with the ventral vagal state. So you have a fun time. You heard that right? F-U-N. That's why it's not us forcing ourselves to develop strength, courage, or curiosity. Those who do the inner growth mindset like I do. The main modules of the inner growth mindset course are dealing with the unknowns, uncertainties, unwanteds, unexpecteds from within you while using your open heart so you know yourself, and then you go with the flow. That's the most amazing of your manifestation tools, techniques, powerful. Again, I play with words to get all the right people to come and join us because we have a good time with our child parts, and then we have a good time manifesting. And success is actually something that you store, first of all, within you. You also bring it forth. And really, the word success for any intelligent mind, it will be the success of the entirety of humanity. Those who are skeptics and cynics and think that we need external beings to come to unite us, that's because they don't believe people have each other's back, you see. So like every other teenager out there, they have a good guy and a bad guy. They have a superhero and a supervillain. They have an enemy. What I tell you about the enemy and knowing your enemy and yourself in our other episode, it was Sun Tzu's quote, but I also read to Lao Tzu. So knowing yourself, you need to know your child parts. You need to know your nervous system. If you know nothing of you and you cannot identify when you're bullshitting yourself, the teenage version of you, you're a buffoon. And I can't talk sense to you because, as Bezo van der Kolk points out, Stephen Porges, and as I've seen in my own life, 45 years, it's true. You don't talk sense to anyone. So the difference with a teenager who's aware with a 3-year-old in us, that's why I was saying the venting is that I don't really want to do it. But I'm not going to talk myself out of doing it. I'm going to actually, as a mentor, content creator, podcast host, allow myself to say this is authentic with your own self, knowing why would I make a big deal out of something. But wait, there is a reason. Now, this is different than when I see those people who don't own their child parts. They're telling you to be competitive. They're actually continuing to harbor resentment towards their own households, and they have a pain point they drag around. And you can tell because they're all against the modern day therapists, and they're all against compassion. They're all against a bunch of things. So they're against basically a group. It shows you they're in and out group. That's the minute that I know I got an idiot in front of me. You're divisive to the point of stubbornness, which means that you don't know what you're talking about. You just have chosen what side you're on because you think putting down your heels is the right way. You're a black and white thinker. So I already know I have a buffoon in front of me because the minute you think you know everything, you're a buffoon. You physically don't. And that's because you can't conceptually read every single book. And when someone says it's a figure speech, it's not a figure speech. You're actually going in with something with that ego. So you don't know that you're not all of your best self because you're also blinded and you're ignoring that you have a blind spot. So you can't come in with full visibility. So you people who are defensive, it's pretty clear that's why they're not damaging. Again, they're just game players that don't realize that they're still carrying a lot of that, which is what's the word? So let me see. Spiritual bypassers, identity, vanity. They don't really want a relationship. They just want you to pat them on the back. This is the part we don't pat people on the back. So being yourself means you know your child parts, you have a safe home at your body, and you know that love is easy, and so are relationships. Anyone who is hiding away and afraid of making mistakes is not really building a relationship. They're just trying to find that which is called a herd to feel like they belong, and that's everyone wants to belong, but that means you're subject to a herd in a way of just not appreciating. You're not appreciating who you are and what you're bringing. So you think that someone owes you or you owe them, and you don't think it, you feel it. And being yourself is liberating because you're securely attached and untraumatized 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3, but you're grown up. Who knows? I'm worthy, you're worthy, everybody's worthy. And when we see the big world, we know exactly why there's problems. Again, pathologies are clear, and we also know, I know about attachment science, but more than just that. History, geography, social sciences, get a master's degree with good educators, keep learning, and actually the best ones will give you literature from all sides. They will say, here, because my perspective comes from this side, this was in my Middle Eastern with the lovely, we have a big topic going on right now, really, really big. And I remember my class because the teacher said, here's all of the books that are opposing what I think, because I'm giving you this. It's very important that you have both sides of a story and that you also remember why they're important. And then when I got to see people who want to use words and think titles mean something, they don't mean anything when you don't know how to be responsible. So you withdrawing or getting stubborn is not responsible. You not knowing equanimity, you're not a leader. In the book of those who are intelligent minds and intelligent hearts, and those who are child parts who see your excuse and your words, I mean, you might as well give me shit, because that's exactly how I feel about every single bit of any hypocrite that wants to come my way to tell me that it's not possible for us to get along. No, it's very possible. I think if you choose a career, profession, it means you care about what you do. When I grew up, I found out that people don't care about what they do, beginning with lawyers who did cocaine. I have nothing impressive to say except for, I don't feel like a buffoon. I wouldn't hire you. You're bad at what you do, and you got holes in your head. And I'm sorry if you have a shitty whatever to excuse yourself with why it happened, but I'm going to say you didn't think of what job you were choosing to do. So it means you didn't do it with your head. You didn't even do it with your feet. In fact, that's exactly why the 0-8-year-olds, that's not the only people I met who don't care about their profession. Here's another one. These are therapists. They're all happy. This little couple, cute little couple. It's what I call people who are not actual human beings with emotional maturity, because you can tell. So my friends know what I do, and they're like, oh, these people, they want to help people too, Maria. And I'm like, oh, cool. So listen, I told them all about all my attachment education, and this man, this guy, I really think we're all still children when I hear that word. Like, a real man, a real woman, a real they, a real grown-up is going to be able to know that there isn't black and white, and is going to be able to stand in equanimity and discernment within their own self, because that's called humility, acceptance, and capacity to understand, never walking in anyone's shoes, not knowing everything. The capacity to be transparent, which is why when you see anyone being obtuse, they're not transparent, they're not authentic, they're just cognitive dissonance, which is very unattractive and intellectually uninteresting. Completely something I do not engage in at all. I began not engaging when I was a teenager in it. I'm a grown-up now, and with all the information I have, you better bet it ain't gonna change. I just get to share with you all how I think. But the minute I'm in the room with a moron who's mediocre, I'm just already here. 3-year-old, have the floor. That way you can have all the attention you wanted, get everybody to hear you, think you did great. In the meantime, you don't really care about interacting with another being. So it's okay. You won't actually notice anything, because you just wanted a floor where you could shine. And you shine, you cute little star, you. So again, this is the very reason why emotionally, mentally intelligent people are open-hearted, not closed-hearted. They're also common sense enough to remember, shh, be quiet, 14-month-old, we're listening to the grown-ups right now. It's okay, we'll have our own time to read it and do whatever. It's not a big deal that they want to hog the floor. We hog the floor all the time. Stream of consciousness, right? So love and life, most amazing gifts, a safe home, most amazing. But where I was trying to head on over, as I now lost my train of thought really, was that people who are caring to bring forth that which is a tomorrow will do so by being self-aware, accountable, regulating, because that's what a professional is, at least for those of us who choose. I got it back. So this dude, he gives me a gazillion million ways to contest all the somatic therapists that taught me about why you don't lay a person down if they're not ready for it. And that you don't do any work with the body until they're ready, because to move from dysregulated to modulated to then ventral vagal state requires the person's participation and a lot of scary shit, because that body is the body with an implicit memory of a 0-3-year-old, which is why compassion, they need it for themselves, because otherwise they're not connected. So the self-righteous batons of people who keep using monsters and words and divisiveness they're not doing anybody any favors. They're all hypocrites for a person who knows what it takes for us to be able to speak. The word negotiation means nothing if you have no idea how to use your embodied brain. And if you don't own your child parts, it don't matter what you think you can show me, because I'll notice that you don't have this. You're going to be this. All I'm going to feel is your lit up ego, and you think you're a smart human being, good man, as you play Russian roulette on screen. And I think you just spoke buffoonery from your mouth. You have no idea what it means to actually be strategic, because you don't got what it takes, since you can't use your prefrontal, which is actually the very smartest part of your brain, due to the fact that it's not influenced by that, which is your first 3 years of life. And when you hear anyone who is from the X forces speak and use whatever it is and make it all into, that's again, conspiracy theories. People love their rabbit holes. I love noticing how people to this day don't need anything to be entertained and distracted. They just do it all by themselves. Because when you tell people about what it takes for them to heal, and like, no, I want you. And it's like, no. It's not that I can't give you what you want. It's that you just told me you got dorsal vagal shutdown, which tells me that your embodied brain needs extra support, just so that we can get you to first use your entire brain as it's your best interest, so that you may continue to do growth once you're ready and navigate your eustress versus continuing with the patterns that your subconscious learned. No, I want you. Okay, look, I was told, these are therapists who told me, if they want you, that means you're safe. So you provide, you support, and if you need us, you'll know. So that's where, as a mentor, and it's a consultant and a content creator, you're not the same. In the book of those who take seriously professionals, a therapist, but then there's the bad ones like this dude. So as I hear the gazillion million ways he has to contest everything I learned from the greats of the greats of the greats, Stephen Porges, Bezel Badner, Koch, Jr., Fisher. There's a number of names: Peter Levine, Dr. Daniel Siegel, Dr. Daniel Fox. I don't even remember all my, keep all the team, not mine, but all these beautiful therapists. This guy, this dude with his little girlfriend, a gazillion billion, this exaggerated number. I was all excited to tell him stuff because he wants to help people. So, okay, I'm not going to get all the gazillion because that's what I would have wanted, but that was too much time. I said, okay, so listen, since you're leaving, how about you tell me, since you have all these ways to contest, and see, here's where I may not use words right, but the minute you told me you contest means you're not curious, means you're closed off, means you're also presumptuous, egoic, and an idiot because you don't care about what you do. As you got a bunch of people out there, and how dare you think of it as contestation. It's topics that are part of your subject matter. They are not in conflict unless, excuse me, are you putting anything on pedestals by any chance? Which is why when someone wants to tell me we can't use different words for God, I'm like, well, what are you doing with your books? Are you putting them on pedestals? Because they look really shiny. Did you take a picture yet? Did you make sure to keep it etched in stone, or, can deteriorate, right? So people who are afraid that we're going to lose our identity because we will, this is just so fascinating. No, it's actually not, because we've always carried down tradition and our ancestry by word of mouth. So we don't need, we actively don't need paper, even though, again, this is where we don't do an all or nothing, but we also, by the way, as mystics and spiritual ones know, we're an energetic imprint, so we don't lose anything. That's why Akash, it's all stored. Oh, and yes, we'll sort of science for the ones of you who don't believe in us, but the point is that science too is looking into the whole sphere of consciousness and energy. So I don't need words to know that I got a download. In fact, I don't use words. The words come automatically or after, but I'll get a nudge and I'll already know what the nudge is. So right now we began a new cycle. Maria knows what her cycle is because I got the download yesterday. That's how an empowered feminine works, because our body is ours, our child parts are ours, and we're in alignment and we're connected, not cut off from pure consciousness, Purusha, Shiva, or Prakriti, pure energy, the 3-year-old, which is also known as Shakti. So the masculine and the feminine energies, and you have both, and then you'll know who's your complementary on the outside, because you'll know, oh, you won't need a guru or guide for any of this, because this is the part of where when people are using the word guru as if it makes them some kind of spiritual master in a special way, it's very clear that they're still using these words, dressing it up with all these lists. And I get it, because, people like their boxes so that they can understand something. But if you're a true guru and spiritual master and enlightened one, and someone who understands how God works, it's in infinite ways, and we're not all the same. That's the whole point. He made us all unique and different. And there's not the need to have a good and a bad team, but we do know that there are those who are on a high frequency and those on a low frequency. And guess who are the ones who are weak? It's not the ones on the high frequency, of course, which is exactly why you won't hear them shouting at the top of their lungs, because they don't have to shout. They know exactly what they're doing, how they're using their time, and they're very, what is it called, meticulous with how they decide to use their time, especially when it comes to people. And expanding is what we always do. We don't need to cut people out of the herd, because we don't have any issues with people that are in our energy sphere, because you know how to use your ventral vagal state, differentiation of the self. So this is why you being yourself, your child parts, you own them, you know a safe home here and here, you know love because you're it, and then you know relationships, so you build secure connections. And when you meet buffoons, it's okay, because I'm a buffoon too to this person. So they tell me how they're gonna help a person, lay them down, have them come in 3 times a week, write down notes, but the first thing they told me was about their little bow tie. And that made me think of another person who, when I said, so why did you become a lawyer? So I'm wearing my suit and I have my suitcase, and then there's another person who also, when I asked, why'd you choose your job? They described to me what they were wearing. I said, okay, so you made mommy and daddy happy. I guess you got a good role, huh? You look really fancy in your suit. And then I think of movies that I've seen, and then I think of people wanting to use the word demon and demonic in stories, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need those words, because they're really not monsters. They had monsters in homes, and then they continued. Unlike what Hook, the movie Hook, Peter Pan, he grows up, because when he's getting married, whatever, that whole stuff, and then he goes back, and finally he claims his true self, right? And these movies, they always end with some type of shame caveat. Yes, there's healthy shame, but that's not needed. We can talk about, we teach good and bad to children. Once you're grown up, you know that good means it's for everyone. Bad means, well, depends, right? Because that's the part. If you and I are walking down the street and you see a man or a woman beating each other up, both one, will you intervene? So I've not personally been in those situations, but I know that as a 4'9" woman by myself, I wouldn't be able to intervene, because I'd be like, okay, and then I wouldn't think to call the cops, because I know of corruption, for example. So I'm like, do I call the cops? How long is it going to take them? So I'd actually have this entirety, and then if I'm with someone, and I've been with someone before where we're seeing a couple fighting, and I'm like, shouldn't we stop? Is this me with a man? No, last time I did it, I got beat up by the woman. So this is why it's not black and white. So when people want to just do this in and out group thing, and right now the world seems like it's more divisive than ever, but realistically speaking, it's not. It's just we have 2 groups that actually are pretty much mediocre idiots, because that's exactly how it feels when I'm seeing extremists. They don't notice that their charge isn't getting them anywhere, and that they can easily, with the same position they have, do more, because their body would be equanimous and they could keep talking the same way they're talking. Like, nothing has to change except for the state of being. And actually, because they'd be open-minded and compassionate and be able to sit with each other instead of just be closed off, they might get to learn something of interesting with each other. So, when I think of this, though, I think of this rabbi who told me about 3 types of people. Let's see if I can find it. And it always fascinates me how all of the different books, they actually have a little bit of truth with the securely attached people, but also with the people who are not securely attached. So when you have Isaac, Abraham, Jacob. So Abraham, I believe, is other oriented and the left, if I'm remembering correctly, or if I took notes the right way, because sometimes I don't. Isaac is internally oriented, and it might be the right. And then we have Jacob, which is the balance of the 2, not concerned with either or, neither nor the other. So, and that's the center, and that will be objective orientation. And when I think of the other and the internally, so internally would be self, and if I remember correctly, because I have some cards, it's the rigid, the self-centered people, walled off. I'm bringing it to Maria's way, common sense, meaning how it makes sense, not common sense, to a human element person who's adding to spiritual elements. So just giving you, again, food for thought. Don't write down any notes, because Tomorrow might fuck it up again or change it up. Okay. Abraham, other oriented. So that means that I'm caring. So I will be supporting outside of myself. Internally, I will be supporting my group. And okay. And so the one in the middle is saying, I can see you both, and I'm going to say objective. Now, objective, we have quantitative data as objective, then we have subjective reality, which is why it's not a black and white, right or wrong conversation, which is why when you meet academics, they will tell you and talk about it. When you meet buffoons, they will think that they know right or wrong, which is why it's shit to anyone who's intellectually and emotionally intelligent. I have no time to waste with someone who thinks they know everything. You're not a professional. You don't even care about probably what professionals do. When someone looks at me weird for thinking that I should be okay with cocaine addict lawyers, no, I'm not okay with it, and I'm not an extremist. You want to try drugs, go for it. Ruin your brain. Don't become lawyers. Why would you be lawyers? When people want to say corruption is what it is, sure, okay, you keep talking like that. You keep on allowing yourself to be the one who says that that's how the world works. I'm not going to limit humanity because there's no need for me to do so. Adolescent essence is what you keep as you grow up with an intelligent child who says, no, I know what manipulative grown-ups look like. And then you learn from attachment science people that you basically have been right your entire life. Look at that. I proved myself to me. Oh, look, I made sense to Maria. Wow. Do I think that's amazing? No, I think that's normal. But the difference is I'm grounded in reality. So like Sam Harris would point out, and in my charitable beliefs, I could be wrong. Hey, flat earthers, thanks for making sure that the earth isn't flat, round. Excuse me. Yeah, you know what? Keep doing what you're doing. Hey, everyone that is doing the extreme diets, keep doing what you're doing. Ignore Dr. Amy Pegan and neuroception. Ignore getting your body connected. Hey, those of you who actually are joining a bunch of different groups to transform yourselves, keep on having a good time while you fake it till you make it. No, you won't make it. But you know what? At the end of the day, like my friends who said, hey, Maria, yeah, no, we're going to say alcoholics because we decided this. We want to live life intensely. Then said, we'll inform me of people cutting themselves up to live intensely. I was like, okay, so you think that's intense relationships, love, you know nothing of life yet. But hey, I mean, you told me why. Life's too short, so why bother living it well? And then there's the others who think that we can't get negotiations and people going, and then there's people who want to be right about what side they're on and what side they're not, and those are all very petty, short-sighted, egoic talks. Now, when I think of the world, I think of professionals, which is why I chose not to go help people through that, which was my master's degree in international relations and diplomacy, because people who throw chairs at each other, that doesn't sound like professionals to me. Sounds like a bunch of buffoons. And then when you find out from Michael Stone what 9 to 16 are, well, makes a lot of sense. Grandiosity, superficial, charming people. Sure, they're charming to other buffoons who need their radar fixed by Patrick Tiahan, but they're the same cowards who don't go to Patrick Tiahan. The doomsdayer, the doer, the hostile, the are we good, and the ghost. And when please appeasers come out of the woodwork, it ain't funny for a person who's their authentic self, which is why you learn to sit and wait. And then you learn to watch. And then you leave alone Cusco, because he's always a liar, like Cusco at the end of the movie. He bullshits Pacha. He doesn't take ownership. He doesn't get out of shame or defectiveness. Do you think that's something to look at and say, wow, great job, Cusco. You found somebody to look up to. Now you're not even doing it right. No, that's mediocre. Again, you can move out of your comfort zone by becoming yourself. Get out of the shame. Get out of the blame. Get out of the stuff that comes from childhood insecurities. So that's how straightforward it is to become yourself. For me, it wasn't hard because I got the luck of having a self-agent and having Jesus. And then I got the luck of being taught by my mother, this is what a grown-up looks like when they're manipulating you. Somehow she informed me, you respect, they respect. If they don't respect, you come to me. And then she showed me what she will do, which is when she stood up for my twin and I with his babysitter. She thought she was being funny using a syringe. We got her fired. And that's how you do it, because you don't scare children just because you want them to listen to you. Which is why my child parts stand up for every person who won't ever stand up for their 0-3-year-old, because I know exactly what it's like to see my teacher, Sue Martin, as she's saying, what does it take to get rid of the life of a 3-year-old? And she began slamming her head. I can't do it, because every time she did it, I was like, okay, I'm breaking inside. I can't handle this. Stop. You know, and I'm thinking of every child that I know. I have no clue how many there are out there. All I can tell you is I was just so upset at this moment in a good way, not a bad way. I was very sad. And today I can say when people don't stand up for their own 3-year-old, it's because they stay assholes and cowards. And I have nothing to say to them because they're all little angels. And God told me to mind my own business and not to judge my brothers and sisters of human suffering, a waste of my fucking time. So I don't. But yes, intelligent minds and intelligent hearts, they love, they thrive. They can see right through any buffoon. It's very, very not funny. Definitely love and life are amazing. Not for some kids right now, but we can work it out. I know we will work it out. Our species always has. And as for the aliens that we're expecting, I don't believe we need them to be united, but you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, since I don't know if I'm 100% right, what I'm going to say is, well, maybe that is what we'll need so that finally idiots can stop being morons. And so at the end of the day, if they do come around and we unite to one big world, that's really, it's a small world after all. I mean, I've been saying it since I was a kid. It's one ocean, or anyways, it's all connected. Like, do you really not understand how it works? Like the air, it circulates, and people think, well, wait a minute, Maria. Okay, I'm not perfect on it. What I'm trying to say is it's one globe, flat, round, whatever you want to call it. Like, do we not know how to think long term? Maria, corruption. Don't stop. Stop giving me your negativity. I have nothing to say to you. So you don't idealize anything or anyone, technology included, when you're a smart person. And that's why we're not concerned with that, which are those conspiracies, by the way, the intelligent ones. We're more looking to connect with people who know how to be their self, with their child parts. So a safe home, you build those loving relationships because they're fun to build. And that's because when you have people who do know what they want in life, they also know how to make it happen. And then when we have the capacity to be informed, we also know that it isn't a one straight shot. So I can speak a lot of thoughts, but I know that professionally speaking, there's many different layers to everything and anything, which is why I don't waste my time with gossipers. So the ones who get all in their fields and their charges, they're a waste of my time, because not only are you not in the places that I would be, I'm not in the places either. Those are the places where talk happens. If you want to participate, you go participate. Like, you proactively can participate to things and do it effectively, as a crowd can get together effectively. Effectively is done in many different ways, but you need to have those who can actually, what's the word? Work with their entire brain. When you have reactivity, that means you don't have people who know how to work with their entire brain. So it is not needing to be talked about, the social stuff, but I do know what we're seeing. And in the meantime, 4D likes to tell us about how many amazing things are going to happen. So we will potentially have a late IHP show later on, and a little bit of mystic stories, but I can tell you that I don't look at the planet that way. I bring the human elements, the spiritual and spirituality elements, and so the sciences. I am able to know, grounded in reality, things are moving along because that's how we've always done it, and it's baby steps. And when you think that something can ever be that fast, that's not how the world works. So at the end of the day, it's every 24 hours counts. So you build your life and you build who you are, and that's why for those who end up getting themselves whole, it's really fun to have them to come forth and join us, because it's nice that they actually welcome themselves. And for the ones who don't want to, we know where they're going to be, hanging out with the 3D40 community, entertaining us, but also providing those lovely golden nuggets, because we all share golden nuggets together. So at the end of the day, safe home is this, and then you can create love and relationships, and your child parts are good, and we're going to have some more stories and some more fun time. So have a good one for now.